we're going to shoot this update outside as we go for our walk with our girl Lucy here. You ready, Luce? Yeah, she's ready. She's ready. Okay. 3rd year now in real estate. You know, when I worked my previous jobs at Deloitte and software engineering, the 3rd year is normally when I got pretty bored, right? At Deloitte, after 3 years, I got my CPA, I was a senior. I quit to travel and backpack the world for a year. And then when I came back from that trip, I did software engineering. And I quit that after 3 years because I got bored. And now, my 3rd year in real estate, there's a lot on my mind. So in this walk, we will keep you guys posted. I've been doing this once a year for the last 2 years. So thank you for following along with my journey. It's been a heck of a ride. And my 3rd year now in real estate, I've basically, this happened in my 1st year, but I decided that I would pursue real estate for the rest of my life, right? And because I made that decision, which I believe is the first chapter of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, because I made that decision, I've just freed up so much energy, and I'm able to use that energy towards what I want, right? It's like if you're in the state of indecision, it's like, you want to climb Everest, so you go to a base camp, and then when you're at base camp, you're halfway up the mountain, you're like, oh man, maybe I should turn around and climb K2 instead. Well, no, now that I've decided that I want to do real estate, it's like all of my energy is focused on climbing Everest. And you may be the same, whatever your own Everest is, right? That's the beauty of life. You get to choose whatever your Everest is, right? It doesn't have to be real estate like me. It can be anything you want. And I think that's why a lot of realtors quit or don't last in this industry, right? Because they want to get rich quick. They see the big commission checks. They want to get rich quick. And they haven't really taken the time to think about what actually interests them, right? Like, okay, at Deloitte, I just kind of did that job because everyone else was doing that job at my school, right? You only had 4 career choices you can make: accounting, consulting, finance, and marketing, because I went to a business school. So I just did it because everyone else was doing it, right? Oh, man. But, was I interested in it? No. Did I ever stay late to look at how I could audit financial statements better or do internal controls better? No, I couldn't care less. I just want to collect my paycheck and go home, right? Looking at the clock every day. Or how about as a software engineer? Was I really interested in that? I was a little more interested than doing accounting, that's for sure, because I like the problem solving and I like building things. But at the end of the day, did I really stay late after work to figure out how to store and cache data in a database better? So that my API could return data faster? No. Maybe the odd time I would stay late to get better at my craft, but it was an anomaly. It was rare. Most of the time I was looking at the clock. And with real estate, it's completely different, right? This may not be the case for you, but it is for me. I'm genuinely interested in everything that has to do with real estate, right? Whether it's what paint colors should I choose for my house? I love feng shui. I love interior design. What artwork should I put up on my walls? How should I stage my house to make it sell faster? How do you do negotiations, right? Negotiations are so fascinating with me because it's like a play on psychology and logic and emotions. Or what are the laws or regulations that are happening to the landlord and tenant board here in Ontario? Super interesting to me, right? Because I'm managing investment properties and helping my clients manage investment properties. I think it's interesting. It's basically a reflection of the entire economy because everybody's living somewhere. So I find it fascinating. And that's what's allowed me to persist in this industry. And that's what I find super interesting now in my 3rd year. It's finally paying dividends, right? I can actually see me doing this job for decades, for the rest of my life, right? I could not see that in my previous professions before. And that is a huge, huge benefit. Lucy, come. girl. Okay, let's go. And this year, unlike my first 2 years, I didn't set an annual commission goal. I actually don't like doing that. I might change my mind in the future, but I really don't like doing that because it kind of puts immediate pressure into your life, and it creates this like lack, or at least it does for me. If you know a way around this, let me know. But it creates this like lack because you're separated from your desires, and there's like this time pressure. So yeah, I didn't do that this year, and I found it way better. Like energy just kind of flowed to me. Things just happened for me because I wasn't pressured with this time thing. I mean, you know, people like Elon Musk, they have a completely different mindset in regards to that. He's like, you know, build me this robot now, right? So, I mean, that's not to say I don't have goals. I have a long-term goal. It's very long-term, so it keeps me motivated and gives me direction, but no immediate annual commission goal like I did in my first 2 years. My first year, I'd set it to be 77 grand, and I accomplished it. 77 was the number because that's how much I was making at my startup as a software engineer. And yeah, I surpassed it. And it, like, if you watch my previous videos, I was like happy for like, you know, a couple minutes. And then it's like, okay, what was the point of that goal, right? So we've set something more long-term and not every year. But again, that long-term goal, I have micro goals, I have sub goals, whatever you want to call it. But I don't put that time pressure. I really don't like it. So with that being said, this year we were able to sell 9 homes at a total sale volume, dollar volume of around $10 million, which is crazy now that I'm thinking back and reflecting on it. And we also did 19 leases, most of which were actually for the landlord, which is nice. And the other half were for tenants. And these tenants actually, most of them were repeat customers, or they were referrals. So it's like I did way less work in terms of lead generation, but still was able to close a good amount of deals, which I found to be interesting. Because yeah, it makes you think, right? It's like, okay, the effort I put in my first year, where I did a shit ton of leases, did 46 transactions, 43 leases in my first year, like that's paying dividends years later in my third year, which makes you think, doesn't it? It's such an interesting game. It's like seeds you planted years ago are manifesting now, right? Very, very interesting. And it's like, okay, maybe I could have pushed harder in my first year and I'd have more business now in my third year. Or, you know, if I didn't push as hard, I wouldn't have as much now, which makes you think like, okay, that means work I'm doing now in my third year is probably going to manifest, you know, in my fifth or sixth year, right? So it's a very interesting idea in terms of like the laws of effort, if you will. And it's very different than traditional jobs. You really don't see that in traditional jobs. So that's super interesting. And with that being said, like I did change my strategy this year, right? I did way less appointments and showings, and yet made way more commission, right? It's like working smarter, not harder. And that's what I mentioned in a previous video is like, that's the cool thing about this job is like, you're the chief strategy officer, right? I changed my strategy. I focus more on buying and selling instead of leases. You're the chief marketing officer, CFO, financial officer, executive officer. You really get to run, you know, your own business. And that is, again, one of my favorite parts about this business. Okay, so my gimbal just died because it is freezing out. So the battery didn't last as long as I would have liked. So whatever, we'll shoot the rest of this video handheld. I mean, it's way less cold here than it is, you know, away from the trail on the street because there's so many trees blocking the wind, but it is still quite cold. So anyways, that's another thing. That's a good segue into what else I wanted to talk about is this profession is very seasonal. Kind of like at, if you work in accounting, you know, there's tax season or audit season or whatever. So it's not like I've never worked a seasonal job before, but this one's a bit different, right? One of the reasons why I didn't post that many YouTube videos in like August to September was, well, I got married in August, but B, I just had so many like clients on the go. I didn't really have the time, right? I could have probably pushed a little harder and made more videos, but I mean, it is what it is. And this profession is kind of like that, right? You're similar to like a farmer in an extent, right? To an extent, right? Because, you know, summertime, spring market, fall market, there's a lot of clients that need to buy houses, sell houses, right? So you're out in the field working that way. You come home, you know, you're dealing with all this. You don't really want to shoot a YouTube video. Something that I need to work on for sure. But I definitely am getting better at the context switching. But yeah, like a farmer, you know, maybe they're planting seeds in the spring and maybe in the winter, you know, can't really farm. So maybe they're repairing their mechanical equipment, or maybe they're doing their taxes or whatever in the winter. Real estate is no different. And I find that very interesting. So wintertime for me, we're going to focus more on YouTube videos. We're going to do our taxes, you know, strategy, as I mentioned before. Really, again, I can't emphasize this enough. That's really the best part about this job, is you get to choose whatever the fuck you want to do. It's amazing. There's so much autonomy and freedom, which I definitely craved and lacked before in my previous professions. Last thing I'll mention in this third year update video. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. I just want to make sure I don't like trip, you know, roll an ankle or something. Last thing I'll mention in this video is real estate. It's like any other skilled profession, right? Literally any other skilled profession. And most jobs, I would say, are, right? Whether you're an accountant or a lawyer, a realtor, or a doctor, it's a skill, and you get better over time with, you know, your 10,000 hours. Real estate really is no different. Certain things now for me are second nature. I don't even have to think about it. It's like riding a bike, you know, for example, like paperwork, right? Before my first year, I'd have to triple check, you know, I'd have to watch Callum Moore's videos like 100 times to make sure that, you know, do I have all the pieces of data right? Am I doing this right? Now it's like, okay, 2 seconds I can put together, not 2 seconds, but you know what I mean? Like very quickly I can put together paperwork for clients, and it's second nature. There are things though, because this industry is just so crazy and there's so many levels to this game, where I'm not that good at as of right now, right? It takes more time, right? Certain things where I don't have as much experience still in my third year, right? Like for example, I have no idea how to do commercial real estate yet. So I don't know, that might take me a long time. Just like in my first year, it took me a long time to put together paperwork for a lease. But what's important is that you're able to figure out what you don't know. And that's why EXP is so great, because I have a great network of mentors, right, in my upline, and really anyone in the brokerage can help. And then I have great managing brokers that respond within literally minutes in regards to questions that I may have. And I have a lot of them still. You bet your bottom. I might even have more questions now than when I first started. Definitely more complicated questions. You know, like maybe my first year I was asking, what's a house? But now it's like, okay, what happens when a corporation pays a deposit on a residential? You know, like just the game is different. And naturally the game becomes different for any profession you do. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my little walking rant here. I do want to make one of these going forward every year, because I used to do these once a month, and once a month is too much. Like, I don't want to become like you guys don't need to know my life story, but just once a year I think is good, as we take time to reflect. It's good for me too. I get to reflect on the year. But that being said, if you're a realtor or are thinking about becoming a realtor, feel free to reach out to me. I definitely need help. I'm having to say no to clients, which would have been crazy for me to tell my first year realtor self. But like I said, just too many things going on. So I'm having to say no to clients. So if you're thinking about becoming a realtor, feel free to reach out. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Lucy is chasing a squirrel. She's looking at a squirrel. Lucy, what do you see? So cute. All right. Yes, thank you guys, and we will see you next time.